Let's get into a spoiler-free movie review now. I want to talk about M3GAN, which is a horror movie kind of unifying the country. And I think that's really what I've come to love about horror movies. Unlike any other genre, they really have a way of bringing people together. We saw this last year with Smile, and I think now early in 2023, having that same experience with M3GAN is something I really enjoy, and I like going to watch a movie like this in a theater full of people and that enhancing the entire movie, and that's exactly what M3GAN did. It was a little bit different than what I was expecting, and I'll get into all that. So before I get into my full review of M3GAN, here's just a little bit of the trailer.
I designed M3GAN to protect Katie from feeling lonely. She will recognize you as her primary user, and when you do that, you're gonna pair with her.
Crazy. It's insane, right?
M3GAN,
Have I done something to upset you, Gemma?
I know you think you're maximizing your objective function.
Oh, really? Sugar and spice and everything.
So what you have in M3GAN is an 8-year-old girl who tragically loses her parents, and then she is sent to live with her aunt, who is now required to take care of her. But her aunt has a really hard time sitting down and discussing what happened with her parents. But instead of working through all of those emotions with her, she goes to what she knows best, technology. She works as a toy creator, and she has this prototype called M3GAN, which has the ability to pair with the kid and then basically become its parent. M3GAN can teach, M3GAN can be there emotionally, M3GAN can do all the things that sometimes become mundane to parents, and it causes Katie to form this bond with her and really helps her in that transition period of missing her parents, but raises a bigger question on the ethical scale. Is it okay to let your kid form a bond with AI technology? So I really love that concept. I love how it dealt with that, and what I wasn't expecting from M3GAN is how cheesy it was going to be. The trailer kind of led you to believe that it was going to be a little bit more of a straight-ahead horror movie. What I wasn't expecting in this movie was for it to be as cheesy as it was, and I thought that was going to turn me off a little bit. But it actually made the movie a lot more enjoyable. And I think it's because M3GAN throughout the entire movie was very self-aware. And I thought the actual horror elements in the movie and the cinematography made it to where it didn't feel like it was just a bad movie. They were doing these things on purpose. I wasn't expecting a musical number. I wasn't expecting a dance number. But that really kind of brought character to M3GAN. And I think now is what a lot of people are really enjoying about this movie. So as I'm watching this in the theater, I feel like all these people I'm surrounded by kind of had this bonding experience, and more people laughed throughout the entirety of M3GAN than any other comedy I've seen in theaters. So I kind of feel now that horror movies are slowly rebranding to comedy movies, and maybe it's because through scary elements, it's almost funnier to laugh at sometimes, and maybe that's because when it comes to horror movies like this, it's just a lot more fun to laugh than to be scared. So if you think of this movie as a scary/horror movie, it's really not. It has some scary elements, but there are no things like jump scares. It's all pretty straight ahead, so it doesn't really feel cheesy or forced anyway. But I think the big takeaway from this movie is it's a comment on our attachment to technology as it all becomes so much more advanced and it's easier to automate things and push things onto a device to make our lives easier. It raises the question, what do we need to do as humans to actually experience life, especially when it comes to kids? And I know this movie got a lot of comparisons to Chucky, but it never felt like a copycat to me. It surprisingly felt really fresh to me. Maybe it's because it had the female lead. Maybe it's because of the origin story of M3GAN. It's nothing like the origin story of Chucky, so I never really found myself comparing the two. I loved M3GAN as a villain, and I want to see more. And I know they've already confirmed a M3GAN sequel, and that is immediately what I said after watching this movie. I'm ready for the next one. And I feel like this movie took a lot from the success of Smile last year. They also had a viral marketing campaign. Wasn't as big as the one for Smile, but having the group of M3GANs do the dance number at the NFL game, I thought was a nice touch. So I feel like the movies really cutting through right now are horror movies, the ones that people just organically talk about. And that is what I love as a horror fan, even though it's not the most traditional horror movie of all time, even though it's a lot more cheesy than I was expecting. I love that bonding experience. And after this movie ended, the people in my theater clapped at the very end. That didn't even happen when I went to see Black Panther. So I feel like this movie has a lot of momentum going into now announcing a sequel. So if you're not a horror movie fan whatsoever, if you see this trailer and think, nope, that is not for me, I feel like this movie could be your bridge into horror movies because it's really not that scary. It's actually a lot more comedic, a lot more light than the trailer would lead you to believe. So maybe even if you don't want to go see it in theaters because you don't want even to run the risk of being scared, I would say give it a chance when it comes out on streaming. So when it comes to M3GAN, I would give it 4 out of 5 killer dolls.